Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista, probably the most entertaining marketing podcast you're going to put in your ears. I'm Jared Walls, associate producer and Stirista's creative copy manager. The goal of this podcast is to chat with industry leaders to get their take on the current challenges of the market, but also have a little fun along the way. In this episode, Vincent and Ajay catch up with Sebastian Opperman, Vice President of Marketing at IONIS. He discusses the expansive responsibilities of his role as VP for the cloud service provider. He also offers an insight on the differences between privacy standards in the EU and the US. Ajay's still great at tennis, and Vincent steals some thunder. Give it a listen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Marketing Stir. I am in a great mood as usual. I've got my lumberjack holiday shirt on, so of course that means I'm happy. Only people who are happy wear shirts like this, I think at least. But it is so good to be back with another episode of the Marketing Stir. I am your host, Vincent Petrofessa, the Vice President of B2B Products and Partnerships here at Stirista. Really quick about Stirista, we are an identity marketing company. We have our own B2B data, our own B2C data. Customers utilize us to target that data, email marketing, display, OTT, CTV. You want new customers? Call Stirista or email me at vincent@stirista.com. That is how confident I am that we can help you. I just gave you my email address to all of our wonderful, wonderful, and always growing listeners. Also wonderful is a great word to use this time of year, is my co-host, the founder, the CEO of Stirista. Ladies and gentlemen, off of his recent tennis championship. I know he's going to talk about that. He loves tennis so much. Mr. Ajay Gupta. What's up, Ajay?
Hey, Vincent, you stole my thunder there.
I knew you. I gave you a nice little segue. I knew you were going to talk about it. So tell us about, because the viewers, the listeners know about your tennis, your ups and downs, right? Hurting yourself, but the championships, this guy's on fire. Tell us about the most recent one.
This was the big one. Normally it's kind of a small weekend tournament. This one is played over kind of 3 months, 12 weekends. So we had the finals this past weekend. And I got to say, playing in the 18 plus division, I'm increasingly feeling closer to your age, Vincent. So,
man.
Got a hurt ankle, got a hurt wrist, but I am glad it's over and it ended on a good note. But I'm also ready to rest and eat for the next month before the next season.
After that age comment, I'm glad I stole a little bit of your thunder, sir. So take that. But no, that's awesome. I saw the photos on the Stirista page. That's awesome. That's awesome. We love to see that on the Stirista page. Also, exciting news, ladies and gentlemen. Our first guest hailing from Germany, calling in from Germany. We appreciate that he's taken some time. Love to get his take on what his company is doing. We are very happy to introduce you to our next guest on the Marketing Stir. He is the Vice President of Marketing at IONIS. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sebastian Opperman. What's going on, Sebastian?
Hi, Vince. Hi, Ajay. Thanks for having me. Good to be here and to see your lumberjack shirt. Amazing, huh? And for the tournament, I'm also a tennis addict, so maybe we have a match when all the COVID stuff is over, or at least handled.
Very cool. We'll have to have a Stirista versus Sebastian and partner match. So
absolutely.
That'd be great. See, there was a method to my madness and my thunder. I knew Sebastian loved tennis. Come on. I do my research. We have a crack team of producers here at the Marketing Stir. Sebastian, thank you so much for calling in. You and I had a chance to chat a couple weeks ago, and I just loved what you're doing. I loved your take on marketing and international marketing. I love what IONIS is doing. I know that the plans eventually penetrate the United States as far as, marketing and getting the word out. But for those of you listening who don't know IONIS, please tell us about the organization there, Sebastian. And then if you could, another question, tell us about your role specifically within the organization.
Sure, happy to do so. So Jonas is the leading European provider of hosting and cloud services and cloud infrastructure. So we have 8 million contracts, are 20 years or 20 plus years in the market, and basically are the new brand that is coming out of one-on-one internet and the IaaS company ProfitBricks. So, and within Jonas, there's Jonas Cloud, which is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and it's the high growth business. So basically the business that should carry the future. So that a bit about Jonas and Jonas Cloud. About my role, if you look at my role in terms of objectives, then we're talking awareness, brand building, demand identification, and importantly, lead generation. Yeah? So creating turnover. And if you think it from tasks or teams, then we're talking campaign marketing, including paid and advertising, events, content, social media, copywriting, technical marketing, lead nurturing, channel and partner marketing, and of course, website management and PR. So quite a bunch, or a bouquet.
So Sebastian, how is the pandemic affecting Germany and in particular your business right now?
Yeah. So the pandemic, of course, is affecting Germany. I mean, and depending on which business you're in, it's either, I mean, really negatively impacting. So if you have a hotel business, if you're in culture, you're out of business, you're closed. If you provide something that is still used, like, regular food retailers, you're doing fine. If you're providing digital services, you're probably even doing better. And we are having a very good year so far, so that's great. Of course, some of our customers are having issues ordering less, others are ordering more, and many are getting into the digital world and therefore are looking for hosting and cloud services.
Sebastian, how did you get into this crazy marketing world to begin with?
I always, love packaging and the products in the store and understanding what people want and why they buy it, building brands, communicating. So, and that's why I started in FMCG, where it's all quite tangible and I would say on the surface at least easy to understand. And that's how I started with Procter & Gamble, fast-moving consumer goods, daily products like toothpaste or Pringles or Pampers, and where you build, I would say, profitable growth strategies based on a superior understanding of the market, and then, building brands that consumers want with products that do their job.
And, Sebastian, I wanted to talk about that because, you look at your history. It's like you said, Procter & Gamble, it's Mars, it's, Pringles, and then now being, at a different industry in marketing. What's that been like? What's been the biggest pivot for you?
Yeah. So, of course, it's very different to, if you compare, you change a job within P&G, so you change a brand. So same company, same structures, similar people, still new stuff. That's one thing. But then if you go from a global FMCG blue chip to a mid-sized German e-commerce or hosting company, that's a completely different business model, different people. That's quite a steep learning curve. So in the beginning, that's difficult because you have to learn a lot of new stuff, and people are talking about things you don't understand. But you're also bringing stuff to the table, and that's why I always say why it's good to have a mixed team. If everybody knows the same, then where's the growth? So when I came to Strato, or when I come to a business that I don't understand that well yet, then first of all I need to be open and learn from the people, and I think that's always good as a manager. Be open and listen and learn, because usually there are people who know what they're doing. But then also, you probably have some strengths that you bring to the table, right? Either from your personality, because you're good at something, or because at the company where you were before, you have learned some, I would say, gold standards or best practices. So, for example, if you're coming from P&G or Mars, you probably know the one-on-one from brand building and communication, and you can bring this to your new team. And then, while you bring your, I would say, best practices and your personal strengths, you have to learn the new tricks of the industry that you're in.
And I would love to hear more about, IONIS Cloud, which is a product line. Is that mainly what your department is responsible for? And yes, that question there, but also tell us about what countries you're responsible for marketing into.
So, yes, my team and I, we are running marketing and PR for IONIS Cloud. So for infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, which is compute and storage, quite some technical stuff. So depending on the audience, they either say like, what the heck is that? Or they might be nodding. We are German based, so our home market is Germany, but we are also in the UK and in the US. We are international, so you can subscribe to our business or use our business anywhere. Naturally, when we have high growth ambitions, we will expand internationally, and there's more to come, because our, I would say, bigger company, the IONIS company, is all over Europe, plus the North America, and that's probably what we're also targeting. Would make a lot of sense.
And Sebastian, we noticed on your LinkedIn profile you've lived in quite a few different countries. What's been kind of a city that you love visiting and working in?
So probably the two highlights, though very, very different, were Tel Aviv and Geneva. Tel Aviv is an amazing place. I mean, it's a great city, directly on the beach, superb weather, lots of young people. You can do whatever you want at any time, eating, going out, partying, and lots of stuff happening. It's a technology place. So Tel Aviv, it's a bit of an island, given the political situation. But for me, it was an amazing place with an amazing speed. I can only recommend people to visit it, because there's also a lot of history, right? You can go to Jerusalem. I mean, great place and great people. Geneva is a bit slower, a bit less happening. It often feels that things are more closed than open. So the opposite of Tel Aviv. But in terms of nature and quality of life, with the Alps, the lake, France and Italy around, you're in the heart of Europe. It's one of the most beautiful places in Europe from a nature and scenery point of view. And very, very international. I mean, you have the UN there. It has a headquarter in Geneva. You have many international organizations and companies like Procter, like Caterpillar. So even though it's a small city, a few 100,000 people, it is pretty international.
In looking ahead, since the year is almost coming to an end in 2020, what do you have going on in your marketing department that you're looking forward to for 2021?
Yeah. So, as I said, we are a business with high ambitions. We have been growing strongly, and we want to grow even stronger. We're building and growing the team, and to create that together with the team to improve how we are doing marketing, to improve our processes, to be more data-driven, more automated, understanding the market better, providing better content to our prospects, and bringing them to, I would say, our great value proposition of IONIS Cloud is exciting. It's an exciting time because a lot has happened in 2020, and I think the speed will only accelerate in 21.
And you touched upon something I would love to hear more about, Sebastian, about data. We are obsessed with data here at Stirista. what's the importance that your company puts on data, and where do you see data fitting into 2021 growth?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, data is what our company is all about, right? I mean, we're storing data, we're computing data. If there wouldn't be data, we wouldn't have a business model. So that's important. Now, naturally, we want to be data-driven, ROI-driven. We want to automate our processes so that we can focus on creativity and strategy as much as possible, and get away from manual tasks. But of course, also us, we are on a journey. Huh? I mean, things are far from perfect, both in terms of the processes that we have, or the software we're using, or the website we have. So, but it's important to know where you're heading, and to make it better every day. And I think this is where the business is on a good journey this year, and hopefully also in the years to come.
Mm-hmm. And we get into the nitty-gritty here on the Marketing Stir. A lot of people who are listening to us are marketing professionals, sales professionals. So, Sebastian, tell the audience, what specific marketing techniques and tools are you using? You mentioned lead generation, but are you doing account-based marketing? Are you using email marketing? Are you using display to generate leads?
So we are using quite a spectrum. As Jonas is a new brand. I mean, it has been, as I mentioned, it has been named called 1&1 before. Now we're Jonas, so you have to establish the brand. Now that this former hosting company is also offering cloud infrastructure, we have to get known in the industry. So naturally, doing awareness and brand building is an important part. Therefore, we do display, we do content, we do social media. So we need to get known and also perceived as a viable option. Therefore, we use reports and third parties who certify and testify that we know what we're doing, and that we are a viable or even superior alternative to some of the bigger, contenders out there. And then, as I said, we are a B2B business, so awareness is not everything. We have to get the leads in. It's a B2B product. It's not something that you buy on the checkout cachet, in Walmart. Something that can take 3, 6, or even more months to get a signature. So we have a funnel, and therefore, naturally, content is important. We need to provide content about the industry, the business, but also ourselves to our prospects and customers, and add value, and then get them in contact with sales accountants and the executives like you do, to see, okay, what is your need? How can we help you? Especially as our service is not just, you click and you use, but we also do customized projects. And I think this is where we're different to some of the big ones, where basically the product is a product. We have a high service orientation, and that's important to get in front of the customers.
Sebastian, do you have kind of favorite CRM or marketing automation or marketing tools in general that you personally like and that your company uses?
I should have done a little sponsorship deal with one of them before this podcast. I would have known that. I think it always depends on what your needs are and what you have. I mean, we are now having also the conversation, we're using different services or softwares in our businesses. Some of that is need-driven and some of that is historic. And then you have invested. And to jump from A to B, even if B might be better if you start on a green field or on a blank sheet, you have some sunk cost and some investment. And usually the new software doesn't run as of day one, right? So it's always difficult to change, and you change only if you really have a need and an obvious advantage. I think there's some good stuff out there, like HubSpot, like Hootsuite, Marketo, but it's I think, a mixture of personal preference, what you're used to, because human beings are, I say, animals of having habits. Huh? When you used to drink your tea at 7 o'clock, you're used to drinking your tea at 7 o'clock, and then 8 o'clock coffee doesn't work for you. So, and we need to make sure that our habits are not holding us back, and that we are doing the right thing without always starting from scratch every year, because you can't run after every software just because it's 5% better.
And Sebastian, in the US, prospecting is relatively easy. Our can spam laws are fairly favorable to the marketers. With our European counterparts, we always hear about GDPR and some of the effects that has on prospecting. So has that been a big change for the marketing teams in Europe?
Yes, yes. I mean, in Germany, we all had quite high levels in terms of data privacy and laws. So it was less of a change for us. But of course, even in Germany, the European legislation and all the requirements that came with it have meant a change, with double opt-in, and also working with providers. Where do they get their data from? What do they do with the data? Now with the Cloud Act of the US, being in contradiction with GDPR. So yeah, it is, I think it's good if people, if consumers, if customers have rights on their data. But international business is not easy by those, I would say, two different worlds, in the US and in Europe.
Sebastian, was in-person trade shows a big thing for IONIS? Was that something that you've done in the past for lead generation? And if so, what have you done to kind of pivot?
So yes, absolutely. We have complex products where there's also quite a bill or an invest in the end. Of course, you can stop any month or any time, but still, it's not like a $50 product. So naturally, trade shows and physical events have been important to present the company, to create trust, to explain the product, to build a relationship. And both in quantity and in quality, those events have been important lead generators for the marketing and sales team. Once a customer or prospect has been in contact with a sales colleague, who has explained the product, established a relationship, it's different to work with that prospect or that potential customer from there than if somebody who just downloaded a white paper or attended a webinar. So what we had to do is, first of all, there was a big hole that we had to fill, like everybody else. So we pivoted to online events and did our learnings there. And yeah, you get leads there, but obviously not the same quality. At the same time, it's not the same effort, right? Not everybody now has to travel from Hamburg to another city, be there 2 days or whatever, be in a hotel. Now it's just an hour, 2 hours, a few hours, and that's it, and no travel. So it's easier, but the quality is a bit less. And of course, we also geared up our other channels for lead generation, working with external partners, companies who provide external leads, but also our own efforts in terms of webinars, in terms of white papers, case studies that we offer.
Yeah, I know it was a big thing for us to kind of travel and to go to trade shows. We've been doing some virtual events, and actually this Friday we're doing our first virtual client summit, partner summit, bringing in some speakers, bringing in some entertainment. That's actually going to happen at 9:30 Central. I will send you an invite, Sebastian, to see if you can make it. It's for everyone. It's free. Some thought leaders, some major companies here. are going to be on it. So I'll extend that to you. But Sebastian, talk to me about the sometimes never-ending battle of sales and marketing, right? You always hear that battle. How have you, as the VP of marketing there, worked closely with sales, and what do you recommend to people listening?
Yeah, I think it's naturally marketing and sales on one hand wants the same thing, and on the other hand, are like cat and dog. We both need the turnover, need the growth, want customers, are outside oriented. So a lot of, I would say commonalities, but then different approaches. So I think what helps is if you have the same goals. So for example, if all the functions are measured by turnover, profit, and cash, then at least you know what is important. And then you still might have different opinions on how to get there, but it makes conversation easier than if sales, for example, would be just rewarded by turnover, finance by profit, marketing by new initiatives out, because then everybody is pulling in a different direction. So I think it's important that the company aligns on the functions, what is important. And then it's about agreeing what we need from each other. In the end, we need to support our sales colleagues with materials so that they can have more effective conversations with their customers. We need to provide them with case studies. On the other hand, written case studies, but the case studies in the other hand come from our sales colleagues because they are in contact with the customers. And they have really the ear in the market, so they also need to tell us, what's going on in the market, so that we are, we need to think in both ways. Yeah.
Sebastian, what's been kind of a career highlight for you? You've worked at some great companies and held some very important positions. What's something you've done that you're particularly proud of?
I think that's a kind of mother or father question. Whom do you love more? Because I think there's many amazing moments, with great teams and great colleagues, and it's difficult to bring them in order. But probably two that would come to mind is one even at Strato, because it's more recent. In 4.5 years at Strato, it's not so long ago. I think what we achieved from a business perspective, marketing success, and as a team and organization, I think has been amazing. So if you look at that, the company within those 4 years doubled its value and really step changed revenue, profit, and cash. So that's from a business perspective. From a marketing perspective, we more than doubled awareness and brand perception, and consequently traffic, which then brings, the turnover, the customers. But also as a team and as an organization, we really transformed, from an organization that was really in silos, that was top down. We moved to a really cross-functional and bi-directional. So ideas can come from anywhere, right? Ownership is everywhere. And from a typical technical company inside out to outside in, so more customer focused. And also, if you think of subscription businesses of telco, you probably don't think of fairness, transparency, and customer orientation, right? And that's something that we also brought on the agenda. So, for example, at Strato, you won't find any fine print. So we have tried to make the business a bit fairer, transparent, and simpler. So I think that has been, a great time and a great achievement. But similar, if you go back to Tel Aviv, to Israel, where we were a small and young team, and we turned around an iconic brand like Pampers, that was really on the brink of extinction, and we made it a shining star again. So very difficult to compare those things. Great achievements all in themselves, with lots of hard work and some difficult times and some great party at the end, or in between.
And Sebastian, what does the marketing team look like for you? What are some of the key positions within the department?
Yeah. So basically, we have three teams, not of equal size. We have what we call campaign marketing, where we do awareness building, demand identification, and lead generation. We have the website management team, and we have PR. And PR is an important piece for us, of course, in B2B business. And within campaign marketing, we have all the topics that I mentioned earlier, from classical paid campaigns to content creation, social media, copywriting, CRM. What else do we have? Yeah, technical marketing, the lead nurturing, but also working through channels and partners. Because yes, people can buy the product on our website. Yes, we have built up a field sales force this year, but also there is our channel partners who do selling also for us and are selling our products, adding value to it, who is an important base to do marketing to. Yeah.
Sebastian, I always like to ask this question, especially with guests who are marketing internationally. And I know it's probably going to be, I'll put you on the spot sort of question, but what have you known, your experiences, your travels, some of the glaring differences of how people prefer their marketing, say in Germany, the US, maybe other areas. And while you're thinking about that, I'll give you an example. We were talking to someone the other day who represents IMAX. IMAX is the theater experience, the movies. And he was saying when he was in Japan that they love on products that have a lot of verbiage. They want to know, get everything in the know. Whereas sometimes in the US, it's more we're driven by the imagery and the packaging perhaps. So what can you give me some examples that you've noticed how people maybe consume Pampers in Germany or look at marketing differently?
Yeah. So when I was with Mars, and I was responsible for food in Europe, looking at the three big markets, UK, France, and Germany, was very interesting. And here, especially the French stood out, because for them, conviviality was an important thing. So it was not enough to talk about, the product is great tasting or so on. You needed to show it in context. And it needed to enable conviviality, because for them, it was people coming together, sitting around a table. It was never enough to just have a great tasting product. You needed to show the people and the conviviality and coming together. Then on the other hand, when we did advertising in Israel, it was all a bit bigger, bolder, faster. It was a bit, they very much look towards the US. It's for them, I would say, the number one country. So here, being shy or modest was not a good approach. Yeah, you always needed to stand out and make your case and be bold and courageous.
I love that. Thank you. I know I just threw that at you and you answered it beautifully. I was always curious about that. I remember vividly going to France and Paris specifically, and all the stores, like the products the packaging is so pristine. It stands out. It's amazing. I always love, one of the things I love doing is going to different grocery stores, food markets in different countries, and just seeing the packaging. Also like pharmacies as well. I like doing that. I went off on a tangent there, but these are things that I like, so I wanted to bring them up. And another thing, a simpler question, right? LinkedIn. This is our signature question on the Marketing Stir. LinkedIn, you're on LinkedIn. We met that way, Sebastian. And you, with your title, Vice President of Marketing, you're probably getting a ton of messages from everyone. What's a LinkedIn message that Sebastian says, sure, I'll accept it. I'll take a meeting. I'll learn more about your product. And then what's one that you just hate seeing, a pet peeve, if you will?
Yeah. Let's start, if you like, because I'm German, let's start on the negative side. And then
I
work
love
it
it.
from there by the other way around.
That's the best.
Okay. I know, the US is always so positive, everything is possible. We always see
Yeah.
the issue, so let's start from there. So if people are extremely pushy, like I haven't met them, they're not Bill Gates, they're not offering a world peace, but in the first 3 lines, always, hey, I have this, I am that. Do you have time tomorrow? So being so pushy, in terms of what you want and when you want it, without, offering world peace or being Bill Gates, that's, for me a bit too much. And also when people promise, false things that they in the end don't keep, that's very disappointing. Yeah. So on the other hand, if people just say, hey, I see commonalities here, let's connect, and then they leave it there, or they have an interesting idea, or I see how they provide value, or they give me something. And I don't mean, a pet or a bribery, but something that has value for me. I've seen you work in that, or you're interested in that. I think this is an interesting paper. Why don't you have a look? And then you take it from there. For me, it's a bit like dating. When you go to a bar, you don't ask the $1 million question as your intro, right? You do a bit of, maybe at 5 o'clock in the morning and after 10 drinks, you do that. But in a regular conversation during daytime, you do a little dance. And I think that's what you also need to do there without wasting people's time. And you need to give something. You need to offer something. On the other hand, if people are just also honest, so for example, I also get contacted by smaller companies or startups. They're like, hey, listen, we have this product. It's really nice. We're making good progress, but we have one issue or we can't solve that. I've seen you have this and this experience. Can I talk to you for half an hour or get your thoughts on that? Now, as I'm not Elon Musk, I don't get 100 requests like that a day, so I can do that from time to time. Yeah. So I think it's a combination of these things. Be honest, add some value, and be a bit respectful. It's a bit like dating, huh?
Yeah. I like the 5 a.m. reference. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think bars are open a little later in Germany. So Sebastian, on a personal note, what do you like to do for fun? Anything new you have picked up over quarantine as a hobby?
I have, so beside my work, I live together with 4 females, of which one is my spouse, and 3 girls. So that's my first hobby, if you want to. Then we have a few pets here, 2 horses, a dog, and 4, what is called in English, guinea pigs.
Oh,
so that's a lot to do. Then tennis, of course. So I love sport. I come from sports, so and if everything is closed in this lockdown, you go out, you run, you do your exercises. If the court is open, you play some tennis. So and then if you're allowed to, you meet friends virtually or in reality. And if nothing helps, you have a beer or wine.
And then what are some of kind of the popular social media or streaming websites that Germans like to use and get on? I'm wondering if they're similar to the US or you guys have some unique services there.
I think they're absolutely, the big ones are absolutely the same. There's no difference. Maybe there's a difference in ranking, in order, but they are the same. Then if you have special interests, there might be some locals, but in general, it's the same. Huh? Especially if you're part of the Western Hemisphere. It's not Russia, it's not China, where you have some specific sites or providers.
Gotcha.
but it's the same.
Yep. So speaking of some of those sites, Spotify is where you could consume the Marketing Stir. iTunes, you can go directly to the Marketing Stir. Sebastian, this has been awesome. That is our time. We appreciate the insight, the take on international marketing. We love what you're doing. We love what IONIS is doing. Check out IONIS Cloud. Reach out to Sebastian. Learn more about the wonderful things that they're doing. This has been another episode of the Marketing Stir. That's Sebastian Opperman. He is the Vice President of Marketing at IONIS. I'm Vincent Petrofessa. That's Ajay Gupta. This has been another episode of the Marketing Stir. Thank you, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista. Please like, rate, and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com. And thanks for listening.